Always start the video with coffee. So I was thinking I wanted to do a few things with a couple of my arcade sticks. So I'm going to make this video right here. It's like the first one of probably 3 different videos I'm going to make. And this video, I want to show, you can tell how long this thing's been sitting. I'm going to show how to mod a Hori PS or Hori SS PlayStation or Sega Saturn fighting sticks. These things can be found pretty cheap. But the problem with these things, other than like the ridiculously ugly colored Easter egg buttons, is I mean the stick is micro switched, but the buttons, they're plunger style buttons, meaning, and I'll show you here in a second, but it's got a plunger on the bottom that makes contact with a PCB, and that's your input. Whereas with a good arcade stick button, it's a micro switch button. They're just softer, more sensitive. It's a better style button. So things that you would need for this mod are obviously wire strippers, some cutters, Phillips screwdriver, some wire. Optional is soldering iron and solder. Make sure you get rosin core solder because other kinds of solder are not good for electrical components. You're going to need buttons. OBSF 30 Sanwas drop right in with no problem. You'll need a Dremel if you want to replace the stick. You're going to need a Dremel with like a grinding bit because you're going to want to grind out the this hole a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but that little hole right there, you're going to want to grind that out a tiny bit, and you're going to want to drill. Also optional, but highly recommended, is a European style terminal block. And this makes, if you like to solder your wires, if you like to do this optional thing, highly recommend you do this because, you know, every time you want to change your buttons out or something happens or you want to switch them or whatever, you're going to have to cut off a little bit of wire. Well, I mean, I guess you could desolder it, but, you know, eventually you're going to run out of wire. This right here, you just unscrew, pull the wire out, replace, and you're good. So highly recommend. And you can like break this to however many terminals you need. You don't need to have just a long ass block hanging in there. But the end result is, and I have the dust cover off of this one, but you can have a nice Sanwa stick and you know, legit buttons. No plunger styles here. So real quick, I'm going to open it up and open up both of them actually and show you. Okay, I'm not going to use that screwdriver. Okay, stubby screwdriver was too stubby. So I'm going to open these up. There's just 6 screws in the back. They're not covered. They're easy to see, easy to find. They're not like Loctited in there. Alright, so here's the stock unmodded one. Right here is the PCB, and here is that PCB that I said that the plunger style buttons press against. So that's when you press this down, that little contact point hits a bare spot of circuitry on the back, on the front side of this board, and sends a signal like, hey, button was pressed. And then, as you can tell on this one, I removed the PCB because it's not needed, and they are just wired directly to the PCB. So, same thing with the stick. What you'll notice though with this stock one is, it was made for this case, whereas the Sanwa stick, oh my, look at that, this nut's almost come off of this screw. This one's seen some play, unlike the other one, for obvious reasons. But you can just go to the hardware store and buy, or just use some, if you have some in your garage, some nuts and bolts, so you can put a nut on the other side of it. But since it's a little bit bigger, you're gonna have to drill 2 holes in your case. As long as you take your time and do it, it's not gonna look hideous, promise. So the wire terminal I was talking about comes into play right here, and you can put I have a piece of Velcro on the back of mine to just kind of keep it in place. But what you basically do, and if you look right here, looks like a bunch of paper, is because it is. There's paper wrapped around each one of the wires because you want to know which button you want to have the correct layout. So all you do is you just you trace the wire to the PCB, and on the front side of the PCB it's clearly labeled like what the button is. And so you just wrap a piece of tape around it like, hey, this is X, or this is R1, or whatever, see? And that way when you cut them and you're matching up your buttons to your wire terminal, you know which one goes where, so it takes the guesswork out of hooking these up. And like I said, if you're a fan of soldering and taping, or soldering and gluing your buttons, and something goes wrong, then all you have to do is you unscrew one of these terminals and you pull out the wire and you put in your new one and screw it back up. So that's all there is to that. Let me get a close-up shot real quick of all the goodness. So like I said, I'm gonna grab the screwdriver. So basically, and you can see, let's see. Okay, so that one has a G on it. That's the ground. Let's flip over one of these. Alright, see, so I knew that was my X button. So when I plugged that up, I just made sure that this one ran to X. The stick is more straightforward. You literally just, cut it and the colors are the same. So, except for the ground was a different color. It was white. And you'll tell a difference like immediately. You can even hear the difference. And this way also, you're keeping your PCB for the actual controller. They sell them, they sell PlayStation, PS2, arcade stick PCBs, or JAMA PCBs on eBay. They're like $20, Amazon $20. But a lot of the times they don't come with, turbo controls and stuff. And since these have, turbo built into the actual case, you kind of want to keep them. Some of those old school STGs, you have to, keep on doing that to shoot. It's better just to hold it down, right? So that's pretty much that. It's a pretty easy mod. Next video, I'm gonna actually do some modding on this 8-trap right here, this Hori Real Arcade Pro. This is my favorite stick, and it's been broken for some time. So I'm going to actually be doing some modding and some soldering for this stick, and to fix it, and to also make it multi-system compatible without a converter and whatnot. So that'll be the next video that I post.